Mr. Trustee, Mr. Provost, Mr. President Stanley, Dr. Mattu, Ambassador Basin, Consul General, distinguished members of the Indian Consul General, distinguished members of the Indian American community, and other friends gathered here today. Let me first of all, Mr. President, thank you for your very generous words of introduction. I was hoping to come here 2 years ago when you first invited me. Unfortunately, my wife at that time was very unwell. You were kind enough to renew the invitation last year. Again, I couldn't come. I've come now. My only sorrow is that she's not with me this evening. We were married virtually when we were children. I was 19, she was 13. The law didn't apply to Jammu and Kashmir, by the way. And she's been with me all that time. We've grown up together. And my only regret is that she's not here today to witness this honor that you bestowed upon me. I am deeply appreciative of this honor. Accepting an honorary degree from a distinguished academic institution is in some ways an act of camouflaged egoism, which I have performed on several occasions. But I must say that this degree is very special because it comes from the State University of New York. I was in New York, friends, 60 years ago. Exactly in 1949, I arrived in New York in an ambulance and spent a year in hospital. And it is thanks to that period that I am on my legs again. Otherwise, I would have been in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. And I visited New York on very many occasions. And particularly the State University of New York, Stony Brook University, the campus, and the Center for India Studies. I am profoundly impressed by what Dr. Sridhar has just told us. It had been my fear that India studies were gradually getting eroded. I noticed in many universities we were now lumped together with South Asian studies. And the special emphasis on India was missing. Not in a chauvinistic point of view, but I must say that India has a unique civilization. India has made a unique contribution to world civilization. India today remains a vibrant democracy, a very turbulent democracy, but nonetheless a vibrant one. And there we have a lot in common with the United States. In fact, it is always a pleasure to visit a country that Columbus discovered by mistake when he was looking for us. Which is why here indigenous peoples are still called Indians, or were called Indians until recently. So let me say right at the outset that this Center for Indian Studies can become a model for other universities in the United States. I hope that it will. In fact, 2 days ago I was speaking at the American University in Washington, and there the reverse happened. I looked at the catalogue and they said, on Asian studies, although our special interest is Japan and Korea, we also study other sub-regions such as South and Southeast Asia. So I brought that to the notice of the President. I said, for heaven's sake, since when have we become a sub-region of Asia? But here, this is the sort of focus that one would like to see on India. A multifaceted focus on our pluralistic, multifaceted culture, our history, our geography, our philosophy, our art, our literature, our language, our dance, our music. All of it is, I think, a unique input into the world civilization. And in the globalized society that is developing, it's important, I think, that on the one hand the globalization has to continue, but on the other hand the specificity of each individual culture has got to be maintained and honored. I was also very glad to meet today here so many distinguished people of Indian origin, Indian Americans or Indian Indians who are here teaching. It is a very impressive corpus of intellectual ability here. And I must congratulate the President and everybody connected with the university and the Center for Indian Studies. Friends, the world we live in today is one of amazing contradictions. On the one hand, the 20th century has seen the most astounding revolutions in the field of science and technology, space travel, the moon landing, the physical exploration of Mars, the unraveling of the human genome, the emergence of instant communications around the world, the internet, the World Wide Web, are all mind-boggling and have transformed the texture of life on this planet in our very lifetimes. I remember there was a time when the human race existed without television, incredible though that may sound to many of the younger generation. And yet we can see today that the world is knit together by science and technology. We now have the material and technological ability to ensure for each human being on planet Earth at least the minimum necessary inputs for a decent human existence, provided we have the wisdom and the compassion to do so. On the other hand, the world is still racked with tension and strife, terrorism and violence, human trafficking and widespread malnutrition. It is estimated that almost 2/3 of the people living on the planet today do so virtually at subsistence level of less than $2 a day. Surely this is unacceptable. The gap between the rich and the poor is widening, and this is creating social tensions that are becoming increasingly unmanageable. The end of the Cold War did not bring the expected peace dividend. Dozens of localized wars have been fought since then, many of which are still in progress, killing tens of thousands of people. Millions of refugees from interstate wars and civil wars are scattered throughout the world. In addition to these problems, the calamity of global warming and climate change is upon us. And at the rate this is now happening, we will see a sharp deterioration in the natural environment over the next decade or so. And the third major threat is posed by the religion-based and nihilistic terrorism that has assumed menacing proportions. We in India are hit by two axes of terrorism. The east-west axis would be called perhaps the jihadi terrorism. The north-south axis is Naxalite terrorism, which perhaps is even more dangerous and has been named by our Prime Minister as the greatest single threat to India. We are thus faced with a clear and present danger to the human race. And it is young people in our universities around the world who will have to bear the brunt of these negative developments and who will have to work determinedly to overcome them. As you are all educationists here, I thought I'd share a few views with you as to how we can sensitize young people around the world to the threats and challenges that are rapidly emerging.